Okay, welcome back. This is the second part of the Pansy painting. What I'm trying to do here is do maybe a series of them, 5 or 6 cups. I think I have 4 more, and we'll be doing different uh, flowers. So I still have to think of what kind, but I know for sure I'm going to have violets. But for now, let's work on this. This is already been kiln fired, and if you can see, it's permanent. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to load my brush with banding blue, and I'm going to start shading from the top down, kind of in the same manner that I did the first painting. But now I'm going to not necessarily cover the whole petal. I do want to leave some highlights, some light, because like most everything has a light, a medium, and a dark. And the beauty of this China painting is that it is very, you can almost see the light shining through. It's transparent, translucent. So now I'm going to do the 2 petals on the sides like this, and let me turn this way. So I'm going to, so you still want to, although it's a small space, you want to keep nice, swift, long sweeping strokes like this. All right, so now I'm going to go upside down. Don't be afraid to move your piece so that you're comfortable with your strokes. You don't have to go like this and be awkward, and it should be a nice, easy process. Okay, so there we go. Now make sure, now I'm going to come back here and make sure I do have this other brush that I'm going to use, because if you, at this point, it's a clean brush, so, well, it's got a little pink in it, which I think it's kind of good. It gives it that nice violet tone to it. So, but it's got very little. So what I'm doing is I am taking a little bit of that paint off so that I can have a little more of the highlights that I was talking about. So, okay, there we go. So now I'm going to come here with a liner brush, kind of a, and I'm going to go into the blue and pull back, and I'm going to emphasize those markings that are very typical of your pansies. And there's so many varieties. Some of them are more open than others, but the one thing you want to make sure that you don't have like a fringe. You want to have them kind of separate at some point, the points here. So they get more solid towards the center, and out here they get a little more separate and wispy is what you want. Okay, so now when I do the bottom part, okay, but before I do the bottom, you know what, it's a good idea to do your center. And I'm coming here with a pecan or a yellow brown or a yellow red, any of those will work. And with a small square shader brush, I turn this upside down, And I'm going to fill in that little, remember we have a little bit of yellow inside, so I'm going to come in here and fill in with that pecan, and that is really going to show up that the little white frame, little triangular frame in between. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with a little rubber wipeout tool like this one here, and I'm going to lift like a little button here just to give it a little interest. And sometimes if you want to get really detailed, you can put a little green in there if you want, a tiny bit of green. So next time you're going to go to the flower shop and start looking more for these things, the different little markings and details that it has, that the flowers have. Okay, so now that that part's done, it's a good time to do the bottom markings. So I like to do the first one in the middle first, just a line, because that's probably the longest one. And that way it's easier to balance out the rest, each side. And there we have it. I think that's going to be it for the inside of the flower. Now I'm going to I'm going to do the leaves. I'm going to, with my brush, go into my green. It's kind of an antique green, and I'm going to make a leaf. So I go from the outside, and they're kind of curvy, from the outside in. Then I'm going to do the vein. If you have any ideas, suggestions on what the other mugs should have, what flowers, go ahead and let me know, so we can pick a variety. In another lesson, I'm going to show you how to personalize them. Okay, so there's one. And I think we're going to probably want something over here for balance. I wiggle it a little bit to give me that curvy edge. Now, if this was a rose leaf, it would be a little different look to it. It would be more heart-shaped. That's one thing to always keep in mind. If you possibly can, kind of like do a little research and paint the leaf that is appropriate with the flower. So now it's kind of solid, so I'm coming here with a little more pressure and lifting some of that color, but at the same time pushing some of that pigment into the center to give me a vein, a simulation of the vein. Now some leaves are not perfect. They get twisty and turn, so that's probably what happened here. So I'm going to leave that little not perfect edge, but I think it makes it a little more organic looking. And now I'm going to do another one down here, so that we'll have 3. Usually, if at all possible, it's a good idea to not have everything in twos, in even numbers, just because it's better to have three. See, it's long sweeping strokes, and doesn't matter. Don't, if you make a mistake and go too big, it's all right. You can come back with that tool that I was talking to you about, the Kemper tool, and kind of clean it up. And at the same time, you're designing the shape of your leaf. Also, you can do a little stem here if you want, or a little bud, but I think this is pretty good for this fire. And we can add a little more on the next fire, but I wanted to show you the different steps. Also, we can add some background to this, but like right here, the rose one, you see it's got a little aqua color behind, and it's a little bit of pink here, so we still have the option to do that to this on the next fire. And I'm lifting color. It's better to have less color, less paint than more, because it's always, so that's what I noticed here. It was too flat, so see, it's much better with a little highlight there. So on the next one, we're going to sign it, and we're going to add some background color, and then I'll show you how to personalize. We're going to write a name on this one here, because that's going to be a gift for someone already. My daughter. So it'll be her Mother's Day gift. Okay, so please let me know if you have any questions, and I'll have the pattern for this, which I think will be helpful to you. At this point, I think it's not a bad idea if we just go ahead and give it a stem. All right, thank you very much.